Hi, I want to give you an overview of our white label embed integration portal. Specifically, we want to briefly tell you how to build workflows, how you can create an embed, how you can generate the tokens in order to enable single sign-on for your end customers, your users, and how to use embed in general. Let's take a look at a brief example workflow here. Of course, a real workflow would look much more complex, but let's assume we want to connect HubSpot, including companies, deals, to an invoicing tool like Zendesk. For the purposes of this demo, I'm just connecting these two here, and essentially you can configure the scheduler as you want, and then you can configure get companies as an action here, and we won't do anything else. We won't do a connector authentication because that is later on dynamically ingested by your users. And on the embed screen, we click Add. Now this is where we create a new embed in general. Let's call this Demo CRM to Invoicing Tool. Now you can enter a white labeled domain. This means the embed can only be displayed on that particular domain. Now you can select the proprietary connector. Let's suppose we're Zendesk in this case. And this allows you to dynamically pass in authentication credentials like API tokens or similar things for Zendesk. So if you are Zendesk in this case, you can pass this dynamically for any other CRMs, let's say HubSpot, Pipedrive, and so forth. Generally, we do provide the sharing level on a user or company level. The example would be that a invoicing to CRM integration would of course be more on the company level, but a Slack integration you might have to do on the user level. Generally, we also support asking for consent because in your position as a Zendesk, you might want to ask your users for GDPR consent. Hey, please note that you're processing data through Locoia in this case, which is of course situated in Germany using servers in Germany. But just to mention that. Now you can add a consent flow ID, and this is exactly where we will pass you the consent data back so that you can store that on your end as a SaaS company, Zendesk in this case. Now let's add groups. Groups will later be here like a group for HubSpot and a group for Pipedrive. You can have as many groups as you want. And of course, if you have a large software company and you have, for example, 5 CRMs, 5 other basically billing tools that generate bills like Orderbird or so forth, you'd have a larger list here. Or you can include those here individually, one per each, on a potentially pre-existing landing page. Let's go back here and let's create a new group. Let's call this group briefly HubSpot. And the connector to be highlighted, that is the concrete logo here, so HubSpot. And now we're adding the flow. You can add one or many flows. Let's add the HubSpot flow here. And in the second where we have this, we can add another group. So the second group here would be Pipedrive. And if I open this, you can see Pipedrive minus companies and deals sync, including line items. And this is, of course, what we want. So second group we call Pipedrive. Highlighted connector is Pipedrive. We could add Zendesk here and it would show up as a second logo here. But of course, this is not needed, in particular if this is embedded in the Zendesk environment on the integration page. Now let's add here the respective flow ID, and you can just type the flow name. So this would be Pipedrive. And via autocomplete, we dynamically find the pre-built flows that we generated. Now, if I click submit here, it will create this. And then actually, let's do this. Let's search it. And now if we click here, we find everything before. We find the secret token. And of course, for all you hackers viewing this, we'll be removing this immediately after this recording. And here you see the iframe that you can immediately take. It is available in 2 languages, English and German. And the token has to be created. How this is done? Actually, you're going to, on the side here, let's close this. You're going on the side here, opening the documentation. You're going to embed white label portal. And let's move here a little bit, embedding in via single sign-on. And what you're doing is you're just copying this code over here. And I already did this to a Python notebook, which you can see here. Now I'm pasting this token, this secret token that I just put in parallel here, and I'm running this. Now I'm getting an EY token, a JWT token, that is valid for exactly 1 hour. You can determine this yourself, how long it should be valid. And now if I go ahead here and basically replace this existing token with the token I just generated, and also, let me do this briefly, replace the embed ID that I get here with the embed ID here. I'm running this, we have created those flows. And we have created the embed, and it's just that easy. If I now click here, enable, it asks me for the subdomain. Pipedrive, as you may know, works for subdomains. If I click here, Locoia, and click finish, it will immediately take me to the login details of Pipedrive, where I can enter those basically with OAuth 2, which you know from Facebook and others. Hey, you're giving access to your email address, etc. And then this basically integration is activated. And it's activated for me, the one user that I defined here, John Doe. So basically, you pass us here as a software company, Safdesk in this case, dynamically the user ID, name, account ID, name, and a lot more, as you can see by the docs, but let's keep it easy for now. What you can also do, which may be nice, is passing us callback URLs so that we call you back once something is activated. But basically, this is it here. So you can have one or many logins. That's also interesting. If you want to have a test login or a production one, you can have them and select them both. And of course, as mentioned before, you could have not just one thing here. For example, maybe you want to have companies and deals plus also contacts. You could have another flow, which would result in another line here, including the enable with contacts. And you can have as many as you want. Maybe you want to split up integration parts a little bit for your users. And yeah, that as a small overview. Let's recap. We briefly looked at flows. We looked at creating the embed, how you do that with this little script. And of course, this portion here would have to go in your backend code, either in Python or Node.js. We looked at how to generate the tokens and how to use it in an embed. And that's a brief rundown on the core functionality. Maybe one more final point, as integrations don't always work basically without errors. There will be errors sometimes, even if someone just puts in something wrong in a field. You can have all your errors be logged directly to a Datadog or a CloudWatch or similar tool. And to finish off, I want to show you how easily you can troubleshoot and find workflows. To do that, I created another one called Salesforce here. And I'll just click enable. And since it doesn't have any authentication, it immediately enabled it. And now let's take a look at actually the embed portion and the flow builder. And we now have here, which you see nicely, the embed flow Salesforce. And you see here, including John Doe. So let's call, and that was the user I authenticated with. So let's suppose John Doe calls you or asks in your support, hey, this flow is not running properly. You get immediately the flow and ABC limited, so also the company name and your internal IDs, which makes it super nice to search for it. So imagine you have 5,000 customers running on a HubSpot to Safdesk integration flow. Of course, you just want to easily find them if your support team and your customer success wants to do that. So you're clicking just show embed flows, click here, and now you see the particular version of this workflow. And of course, I just mocked this here, but in reality, you would be able to see also payloads here of your customers as per the settings, how long the log data should be stored, which can range from 0, nothing stored at all, but we usually recommend to have 4 to 5 days to also cover long weekends. That as a final wrap up, and thanks a lot for viewing.